And it's a struggle at times. I know this would depend on personalities and family lifestyle and all this other type of stuff, but I'm just going to say what I wrote down. So I have been holding something back for a little while. You get to be the first one to hear this. Welcome to Shine Bright Homeschool. It is great to see you today. It has been a few weeks since I posted last, and a lot of things have been going on, so forgive me for the delay. But this video is actually in response to some questions that I got on my community posts. So if you are not subscribed to my channel and are interested in homeschooling or need some help homeschooling or homeschool tips or anything like that, I am always here to help. As a former homeschooler myself, being homeschooled kindergarten through 12th grade, I know some pretty good things about homeschool life and what it's about. So a few weeks ago I had posted on my community page, hey, if anybody has any questions about homeschooling, I am here to basically answer the best I can, my opinion and my experience, and to maybe help point you to the right direction if you're not quite sure about certain things. And I got 3 great comments with a few different questions, some of them. So I am excited to share those with you today because, you know, there's always different people's questions, maybe something that maybe you didn't think about that may be able to help you. So currently, for those who are new to my channel, I have a rising 9th grader. So we are finishing up our 8th grade school year here in the next month or so. There's been some shifts this year. It's been a very weird, probably the weirdest homeschool year we've had. But that's okay. You know, the great thing about homeschooling is you adjust it to your life, and sometimes life make things a little bit uncertain. And so you just have to do the best you can, and that's the great thing about homeschooling is you can take it with you. You can take a break as long as you get your requirements done by your state. There's so many opportunities for you in the homeschool world. So I am excited today to answer these questions and share them with you. Thank you to the people who commented. I am thankful for any interaction that I get on my channel, and thank you for everyone who's been commenting lately about previous videos that I've done, because they're there to help you. Honestly, they're to give you any insight or advice or just for you to gather information. And everyone who has children, about 4th grade and up can benefit from my videos. I don't have a little right now, so I can't really help you with the kindergarten through 3rd grade. Basically, after 4th grade, when we were going into 5th grade, I started this channel to help y'all out too. So hopefully it has been a help, and thank you so much for watching. So I'm going to answer Grounded in Grace's question first. They asked, how do you handle the transition between elementary school to middle school in terms of workload? So I have a little bit of experience with this, except mine was very different because I actually took my son out of a charter school in 4th grade, the very beginning of 4th grade, and then he came home, and then that was a big transition, and then we went from 4th to 5th. And I did start out, pretty much all of 4th grade was Abeka because that's what I knew from when I was in elementary school, and it was just easy for me based off the situation we were in. I have some really good thoughts about this question though, because since we've been in middle school for the past few years, I can see how when you're making that transition to the student having to do more required workload based off the intensity of some of the subjects especially can be a little bit harder than others. So in answer to this question, I really feel it's important to know the strengths and the weaknesses of your student and to know where you want to stretch them, and start out by giving them maybe a little extra work for practice. You don't want to give them the feeling of being overwhelmed and start to be really negative about it. So I think it has to be very slow. The other thing that I would take into account would be the curriculum and know what works best for you and the student. Some curriculums have less hands-on work and it's more audible to where you're listening to either the teacher or the video, and maybe the work itself may not be as much. Maybe it's more conversation. But then there's others where there is more hands-on, like a lot more writing, a lot more repetition in activities that create habits. So you want to consider how they learn and how you teach, because that will help you know a little bit more about what level of workload they're ready for, because you really do not want to push them so much where they do get into that discouragement. Also, what can help is if you're wanting to break them in slowly from elementary to middle school or from middle school to high school, you want to really know their learning style. And there's some online resources that can help you to figure out what those learning styles are, because I think that would help you know in what ways can you give them something that they're going to basically take and grow from instead of shrink back from. You know what I mean? Like I think knowing if they're an audible learner or if they're more visual, that can kind of help you when you add that extra work. What does it look like? It may not be just extra worksheets. It may be, okay, well, if they watch this video and they grasp the concepts visually, then maybe they wouldn't feel discouraged with the worksheet, or maybe they like doing it with something instead of by themselves. Also, I think a good way to gradually work up the workload is to just choose one day a week and be encouraging and just say, hey, you're going to do some extra work today to maybe get ahead, and then see how they handle it. See if they're excited to do the extra workload, or are they really like overwhelmed that way. Because if you make it smaller up front, then it doesn't necessarily seem like, oh, it's going to be this way forever for the entire year, right? It mentally, I don't think it kind of clicks like, oh, this is going to be every school day. So I think starting them out just one day a week and gradually adding more. Then if you slowly extend it and you don't really say anything, it's just like you're adding one extra worksheet. Instead of doing it the one day a week, you can then start doing it 2 days a week and just kind of break it up and just really make it where they're not fixated on a ton of extra work at one time. And you can plan it out where it's gradual and where you have maybe a custom schedule. I know some moms don't like that because they already go by the curriculum plan or whatever, but maybe it's just for a time period, gradually adds in that work instead of it being just every single day, and that way they work up to a couple more days a week where they're doing more. So I hope that makes sense. And I think sometimes kids need incentive to do more work. So like if you did it earlier in the week, like on a Monday, Tuesday, let's just say you added another worksheet or something, then maybe say, well, if you do this worksheet, then maybe we can get out earlier on Friday or something like that. Just really focus on what is the incentive for your child at first and get them feeling good about it and that they're capable. Allow them to see themselves take those extra steps for that level of workload. All right, so the next question, Sarah asks, what are the best resources when searching for the best curriculum for your homeschooler? Wow, great question. So I think there's a few things involved here. First is talk to other homeschoolers if you have some local to you, or maybe if you know some friends or family members that homeschool. I think it's really important to get other people's feedback on this because everyone is different and everyone has different experiences. The other thing is asking questions on Facebook homeschool groups. If you're on Facebook, that may be a thing. I don't know if there's other groups out there from, some apps maybe that are out there for social purposes. If there's any like homeschool meetups or whatever in your area. Facebook has been a connection that I utilize. I don't really like social media as a whole, but for that, I do have homeschool groups that I'm a part of. Some of them are local, some of them are not. I can if I have a question, I can post it on there, or I see other people's posts and say, hey, what curriculum did you use for science for 8th grade, or what curriculum did you use for kindergarten? So there's all these people that are on these Facebook groups, and I feel like that's a great place to ask and get people's opinion. And some people will not have the same opinion as you. They may not line up exactly with your style, but I think it's still a good way to start researching and start to see what people like or don't like about certain curriculums. And you can also go online and get a search of curriculum brand names. Just put in homeschool curriculums and see what brands are out there, and then start to, type in reviews for Rebecca, reviews for Master Books, reviews for Apologia, whatever you're looking for. Once you get a list of homeschool curriculum names, you can just type in and see what people say, what they like or don't like. The other main way of getting some good advice about homeschool curriculums is on YouTube. So like my channel, there are other great women out there who have been pioneers in the homeschool realm. Well, they have tons of kids and they've homeschooled tons of kids through many different grades and graduated them from homeschooling, and those are really great people to hear from. And this is why I started my homeschool channel, because when I started my son in 4th grade, I had been out of the homeschool realm for over a decade. And I knew a lot of things had changed, and I didn't know fully what I was going to do because it was a last minute decision for me. I initially was not going to homeschool my son. So when I switched to it so suddenly, I was trying to do the same thing where I was looking what was going to be the best options for us. And really, YouTube was the main place that I went to get people's reviews about, hey, what did you think about this math curriculum or that science curriculum? And that's the great thing about this platform that you're watching me on, is that is an option. Homeschool meetups in the area, if you know of any, that's a great option to talk to other homeschool moms and share with them maybe the homeschool style that you're looking at doing that would align with you, your personality, your home life, your teaching style. There are different ways of homeschooling. If you check out the website www.homeschool.com/homeschool methods, I will link that in the description below, because that actually gives you a list of the different types of homeschool methods and styles, and that may give you an idea about what you're looking for when you're looking for the best curriculum for your child and for you, because that is going to matter. It really does. And classical is going to be different than maybe Charlotte Mason, or, there's so many different ones out there that are traditional, and you really kind of have to have an idea, because some homeschooling curriculums are not going to flow with your style at all. But also just give yourself grace, because finding the best curriculum isn't necessarily always easy, because your child is also changing every year. So I've found that sticking with something kindergarten through 12th grade is just not possible, in my opinion. It just isn't necessarily, because your children are going to have different strengths and weaknesses, especially if you have more than one, and certain curriculums are going to hit them differently at different ages. So just to think about that, I wish I could say this is the best one and this is how you're going to know it's the best one. You'll feel it when you do it, and when they do it, you won't feel a struggle, you won't feel a dread when you go to do the school, when you go to do the curriculum. But I definitely think checking out that website, about the homeschool methods, can really help guide you to find the best one. And then when you do your online research, your YouTube search, or talk to other homeschool families, you'll be able to say, this is my homeschool style, I think, and this is what I'm kind of looking for, how our day should flow. This is the things I want to use to teach. Then that can help give you that support that you need and kind of help you to find what you're looking for. So Heather asked some really great questions. I actually had to write these questions down and think about them, because I wasn't quite sure off the top of my head. I kind of had to think about it. So thank you, Heather, for the deeper questions. She says, how do you balance being a teacher, a mom, and a wife in this new fast-paced life? Well, let me say it's very different than what I had with my mom as a homeschooled kid. It's very different, and it's a struggle at times. I know this would depend on personalities and family lifestyle and all this other type of stuff, but I'm just going to say what I wrote down. Be flexible. Give yourself some wiggle room. You do not want to stress yourself out by having such strict standards, to me, because homeschool is operating in home life. You really have to decide to be a flexible person. And most homeschool moms already are, especially if they got multiple kids and they're constantly having to make adjustments throughout the day. So being flexible, this is just me because of my personality, and I know some homeschool moms that are not this way at all. For me, I have to work within boxes in my mind. If our day is kind of broken up and we can't do school from like 8:30 till 12 or 1 o'clock, let's say I have an appointment in the morning, or my husband's home and he's kind of in the house moving around and there's a little bit more disruption, I would have us do an hour of a little bit of work, and then I'll tell my son to read while I'm gone to my appointment. So there's different areas where we work. Some days we work on certain subjects, and other days we may not get to that subject, but we'll do extra on another day. So basically what I call that is working within the boxes. Boxing your time. Instead of feeling that drag of everything gets kind of meshed together in your mind, you have to be like, okay, time slot, for box it for an hour, 30 minutes. Let's just do this. If you get caught up in something else in the house, mess with that and then okay, let's do another 30 minutes of this. And again, not every day is that way, but definitely having, to me, the box mindset helps. It's almost like you're opening and closing a box. You go and work on another box because life is just happening, but the schoolwork still needs to get done, right? So you still want to just kind of make sure you're going to those boxes every day and taking care of those things. Planning, so that kind of goes along with this, is I have to have a calendar. For me personally, that's just how I flow. Like, I need something to keep me on track. For some of you, that may not be a planner, like a physical planner you write in. Some of you, it may be your phone. It may be a list, some sort of schedule of some kind. That's how I have to do it, to make sure I take care of all these things. So if my husband and I, let's say, have something going on, then I'll make sure I put that down. I'll just get mixed up. For me and my personality, if I don't have those things, then I start to get kind of anxious. I just feel like I'm losing or forgetting something, and I will forget something or I will overlook something. But I really focus on, like, when we have family time, really enjoying that, or when my husband and I can run out to the store together, even if it's not a date, us really talk during that time. And then when I'm with my son, if we're in the car or whatever, I really try to take those moments and just enjoy them. And that's easier said than done, but that's what I try to do. So the other thing is to remove any unnecessary distractions, or get rid of any extra unneeded stuff that fills up your time or causes you to waste it. We get caught up in so many unneeded things and distractions so often that I find that those are some of the biggest time stealers. And when you're really trying to teach, or you're trying to engage in a relationship with your children or your spouse, our life outside of our home is already crazy busy. If you live in a town or a city, you probably may have that. If you go to the store, people are always coming and going, and then you have technology, and that just makes everything so much more fast-paced. So I think the more you can cleanse and prune in certain seasons, especially of your life, getting rid of all the extra stuff really helps you to slow down and not have as many things that you have to take care of. Don't overcommit. If you feel like you're starting to get stressed out, might not get the kids' school done because of something or whatever, then just politely bow out of things. And don't think that your kids need to be involved in every single activity. It makes it hard. I get it, schedules with jobs and all that, but I think if you're married, then you have to take time for your marriage, because that is the foundation of your home life. That is the foundation, basically, of your school, because your school is home. So do not skip on that time with your spouse as they're parenting with you, to provide the environment for the teaching. So that's something that I think needs to be focused on. I think that's probably it for that. How has homeschooling changed since you were younger? Well, I would say that there are way more options and resources than there were when I was growing up being homeschooled, and it's looked at nowadays as way more normal than it was. Whereas when I was growing up and I was out of the house during school hours, if we were just at the store, or if it was anything other than like a doctor's appointment or a dental appointment, people would basically give us dirty looks, or kind of look at my mom like she was kidnapping me or something like that. I don't know, with a very weird, suspicious look. Then they would ask, what is she doing out of school? It's just like, people, I don't know. That's probably a hot button issue for me, but definitely something you don't hear as much. Like, I could take my kid out. I don't think I've heard that in a few years. You see kids now in all hours, at least in our area, all hours, because this area where we live has boomed with homeschoolers, and you don't really hear that. But there may be some other parts of the country where you are going to hear that, because homeschooling may not be as common in certain towns or cities. That may be a thing. The other thing is there's a whole lot more co-ops and homeschool groups than there were when I was younger. Again, it depends on your area and how many homeschoolers are in your area or moving to your area. But for me, here where I live, definitely way more options than there were years ago. And then the last thing I think I've seen a lot more is this shift to online classes. Whereas before, it was either books, VHS tapes or DVDs, and CD-ROM. Yes, I said CD-ROM. Where you pop the CD in the computer, and the computer disk drive, which most computers don't have anymore, definitely has been a area of growth. I mean, there's just so many options for homeschooling online now. If you just want to do a couple classes or the entire homeschool curriculum online, you can now. More like easily accessible, because that was not there. That's kind of probably one of the bigger changes. Obviously, online doesn't work for everyone. I think kids are having to supplement social activities now because there's so much done online. They're having to do other things. Whereas when I was homeschooled, you did your schoolwork at home and then you met up, with some homeschool friends and enjoyed yourself. It's very different. Technology has made it very different. What is the biggest challenge I have found in teaching my child? Going back to that learning style, his learning style and my teaching style. Teaching the harder classes that I'm not as good on because I struggled with it in school, that can be hard. I pray for patience on the hard days, and sometimes I have failed that. But better me being patient with my child than a teacher in a school that's over 30-something kids getting upset at my child because they have so many other kids to take care of. So at least I come back and say I'm sorry when I've overreacted. And we cry, we hug, whatever's necessary, and I encourage him, and we just keep moving forward, to another day. Whereas I think, knowing what my son dealt with when he was going to school, there's just so much emotionally that wasn't taken care of. So at least here, I can deal with that. You gotta ignore that negative voice that wants to tell you that you're a failure as a homeschool mom, that your kids aren't getting what they want, your kids aren't getting what they need, or your kids are getting behind. You just have to kind of work at silencing those negative voices, because you are a great option for your child. And again, I'm saying this to the majority. I know there's some who have tried homeschooling and it doesn't work and their kid isn't happy with being homeschooled. I'm talking about to the majority of homeschoolers who, on a regular basis at least, do great and have great success. And the moms are happy, the kids are mostly happy, and everything works good and they're moving forward. There's just been such a mass movement towards homeschooling lately that you see the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that's what you hear about. But I'm going to say I am the story of the great homeschooling journey. After I graduated, I worked at a job for 16 years and then decided to come home, and I was very successful in college. And don't necessarily think that just because things are hard that it's a completely negative thing, because my mom had negative days with me and I survived, So really, your child better than anyone else. You're going to be the one who's going to make those hard sacrifices for them to do well. And that's the commitment you make being homeschooled, and that's what I've had to do. I think that for me, as long as I'm supporting my child in other ways he needs, not just academically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, I feel like that my child is more willing and can accomplish a lot more and can do better as I understand his needs completely and wholly as a person, not just academically. So I think that's it for that question. So she asked, what do you look for in a curriculum? The first thing would be a alignment with mine and my husband's worldviews. A curriculum that I know is going to encourage him, keep his attention, be easy for me to read through or teach. I don't really like wordy curriculums. I like something that's a little bit more simple, and then I like to expand on it myself. So if I have to just read all this content, I'm not going to be good. He's not going to be good for sure listening to me. So I kind of like something that has a mixture of writing, talking, conversing, where there's not tons and tons of writing, tons and tons of listening to me, but there's good conversation. That's how him and I do well together, is through conversation or visuals or things like that. So I like, a combination of curriculum that's really good with pictures, but yet good amount of reading, because he does love to read, which is a blessing. So yeah, it's if something is too dry, too bland, it just is not something that him and I do well with. We are both more visual learners too. I do like curriculums that have pictures. I do like curriculum that most of it is in color, printed in color. So I do pay a little bit more for that, but I feel like him and I both do better with that too. The last question from Heather is, what is the best biblical course you have found for the lower elementary and upper elementary? Wonderful question. I did not really do a biblical curriculum before 4th grade because he wasn't home. So when I brought him home in 4th grade, I did the Abeka video curriculum where everything was together. I did Abeka. After that, I would have to go back actually and remember what we did for 5th and 6th grade. I think because the curriculums that we use, which is more like master books and some other ones, there was Christian themes in those curriculums. I have tried middle school kind of level of Who is Like God, which I do have that on my channel, a review on that curriculum, but that's more for like definitely 7th and 8th grade. So I can't really tell you about the upper or lower elementary, but I have a wonderful announcement. So I have been holding something back for a little while that I've been wanting to share with you all as we end this video today. If you're still here, then you get to be the first one to hear this. I'm actually working on creating my own biblical curriculum of sorts that I am hoping to actually get up and ready for you to look at hopefully by July, if not before. I will be talking further about this in some upcoming videos. I will be releasing something that I've been working very hard on, and it is a biblical word study. So it's kind of like a curriculum of sorts, but it's going to be more like a unit study, and it's going to be biblically based, and it's going to be easy lessons for 4th and 5th graders most likely. I'm trying to keep it at that level right now and hope to expand it to something else later. I'm so excited to share it with you very soon. So make sure if you're still with me on this video that you like and subscribe and click that bell for notification, because you will want to know when I'm releasing this content. So to end the video today, make sure that you stay tuned for my next few videos, because not only will I be talking more about my content that I'm hoping to release very soon, but I will be talking about 9th grade. 9th grade, okay. I have started to purchase some of the 9th grade curriculum for us, and I'm very excited to share it all with you. I cannot believe that high school is at my doorstep. The curriculums that I have purchased, so I'm just so excited to do the look-throughs with you and share with you what I'm doing for literature, for history, for science, for math, and for writing and grammar. Please make sure that you stay tuned to my channel. Thanks for tuning in today, and I will catch you next time here at Shine Bright Homeschool. Until then, shine bright.